Okie dokie, here we go. Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals review session for May 24th, 2022. We'll begin with the zoning calendar, continued hearing items, item number 20, 2016-4463BZ, 6202 14th Avenue, Brooklyn.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry. Okay. I thought the applicant was very responsive to our comments at the last hearing in October, so thank you very much. It provided a restrictive declaration obliging it to provide off-street parking for its school buses. The lease for the 19th Street lot will expire in 2027, so I doubt the school will be functioning for too much during that lease period, but at least they have obliged themselves to off-street parking elsewhere, if not that site. I believe based on the comments at the last hearing that commissioners no longer have objections to building massing, student population size, or the projected growth rate. So correct me if I'm wrong about that, but that's what my notes indicate. I'd like to know whether there's still an open question about programmatic needs for the larger spaces. That one I didn't see specifically referenced in the commissioner comments. We do have open DOT, including school safety, but I think, did we just receive DOT sign off on this?
No.
Okay. So that's what we're still missing, DOT sign off on school safety, and yeah, including school safety. Okay. Vice Chair Shanda.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very satisfied with the submission, and the applicant, as you mentioned, has been very responsive to all our comments. And I guess we just need the sign offs from our sister agencies. Thank you.
Commissioner Ali Brown. You're muted.
Hi. So I had been asking all along for the student safety plan for the walking students and the bus students in terms of the arrival and dismissal. And yes, I finally received the plan. And it seems as if they're expecting all of the students from the youngest age up to 8th grade to take the bus. And the teachers and staff will be at the entrance to facilitate arrival and departure. And then they expect the only students to walk were high school students. And they basically said they'll walk in groups to and from the school, and the teachers who live in the neighborhood will monitor them as they're walking home themselves to ensure their safety. And they also said that the staff would be located at all of the surrounding intersections to ensure pedestrian safety during crossings. And so I'm satisfied. And also none of the intersections are considered to be high crash locations. In fact, none of the intersections have more than 8 crashes in any 12-month period. So I'm personally fine with it. I found the submission to be addressing all of my outstanding issues. So I'm okay.
Thank you so much. Okay. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Chair. I agree that the submission was very well organized. Thank you to the applicant. And it was very responsive as well. And I do not have like any comments to add. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Shibeta.
Found the submission responsive. I don't have further comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 21, 2021-29BZ, 3904 Orloff Avenue, the Bronx.
There was only a little thing that needed to be corrected. The submission was corrected to respond to our comments. That's all. There was very little to do. Any Vice Chair?
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty with turning. No, the applicant has been very responsive and has made the corrections and some of the suggestions that I had raised with regards to the facade treatment has been addressed. I really have no additional comments, and I'm very satisfied with the proposed plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheta, Otley Brown, sorry.
So I had had the project manager reach out to the applicant in order to revise the corner lot study to address my issue, which was basically in terms of the minimum variance to justify the building width and the front yard size. And so they revised the study. They were very responsive. They had probably misunderstood what I was talking about, but they certainly revised the study to be more in line with answering the question that I had asked. And they did a corner lot study. They got 8 lots in the corner lot study, and the average building width was 22.25 feet. And the subject is 22 feet wide, so it fit right in there with their range. And I wanted to know about the front yard situation and whether it was common. And so what they basically showed was that the lots that have the larger front yards on the long dimension of the lot are lots that are quite a bit wider, like heading towards 50 and 70 feet wide. And so it was easy for them to put a nicely shaped building on and also have enough space for a front yard. But when you look at the corner lot, you saw that there are actually 2 lots that are 25 feet wide, like the subject, and those have a 0 foot and a 1 foot front yard on the long side. And so the subject has the 0 foot front yard on the long side and 10 feet on the short side. And I felt like, okay, given their issues in terms of narrowness of the lot, what they're asking for is actually within range with what is actually shown in the area. So I'm fine with it. Thank you so much. Very responsive.
Thank you very much for the detailed response. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I agree that the submission was responsive as well in this case, and I'm satisfied with the application. The only thing I would suggest to the board is to add a condition. I know that it could be like redundant, but I just want to put the language on the resolution or whatever to indicate that any living accommodations in the cellar would constitute grounds for voiding the variance. Any threatening language like that to make him like think like 5 times before they go ahead and put living in the cellar. Thank you.
And I think what you're talking about is an additional unit, right? A 3rd unit, not like whether they use it as a rec room, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the additional, which was the concern in our discussion before, where we said you have to take out the 3-piece bathroom, and they said now they need it for a gym, right? So that's an interesting point. Okay, Commissioner Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. I was satisfied with the application. I'm just, my concern is to the wording of that language. I just want to be cautious that it's not something that it would have to be that there's actually someone living down there, not that there's indicia of, if there's indicia of the potential of someone living there. For example, if there was a warming kitchen or something downstairs, I want to be sure that it is that if it is found that someone's living there, then their variance would be denied.
So the thing is, it's DOB that enforces these extra units. They're professionals at it. They do these investigations all the time. HPD as well. So it would be based on their standards. I don't know how they determine it, but Tony and I, for instance, went on some site inspections where actually which was that, HHS or that was HPD?
HPD.
HPD evicting tenants from illegal units. So they went
that HRA had put in there.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible, terrible story, but they actually saw the tenants. I mean, it's horrible. I wish that property owners don't do that, and that the city agencies don't send them there, and the real estate brokers don't advertise for them. But a much better way to avoid it is don't do it. So I say something in the resolution that frightens them into not doing it. It is a way to avoid a disaster like that. They're really tragedies. So, yeah. Okay, so I saw Vice Chair Shana's hand was up first, and then Commissioner Sheta's hand.
Commissioner Shibeta didn't. Oh, all right.
Oh, I thought, he did speak.
I'm sorry. Did you?
You want to say something else? Yeah.
I do not.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Shibeta. Sorry.
Okay. So Vice Chair Shana, go ahead.
Thank you. I think what we need to be mindful of is that this is an application just for a yard variance. It's seeking a waiver for the yard. It's not seeking a waiver for the use. The zoning district allows only 2 family homes, up to 2 family homes. So if we are not waiving the use, that is, we are not allowing multiple family dwelling units, anything more than 2 units would be contrary to the underlying zoning regulation, and that itself would be a flag. So I do not, I mean, the drawing already has a note that says no cooking or sleeping or living accommodations permitted as per subchapter 3, article 5. It's very clear that there won't be any such accommodation of any nature that would happen. Yes, you could use that as a rec room, but it will not have any sleeping or living accommodation. And without spelling it out, the zoning will not allow a third bedroom, a third unit, because it's a this zoning district allows 1 and 2 family only.
Right. So why would you have an objection to a belt and suspenders and resolution?
I just think it's not necessary. I think what is there is it's what we permit. I mean, think of all the special permits that we grant for those homes, home enlargements. There we put a note there. We do not put another thing saying it should not be, it would be voided if anything. We don't put those notes there because the underlying zoning does not allow a third family.
Well, we actually do have all of the 73-622 a void clause for if there's more.
Right, there's a void clause specific to the void clause is specific to the enlargement and the fact that the existing 50% of exterior and joists need to be retained. If anything falls short of that, then it is voided. So the action before us is that we have an existing home and we are enlarging the existing home. And if the existing home is completely demolished, then our whole action is moot. That is the connection we have made. And that's where we put that belt and suspender. I do not think here that is necessary.
Okay, Commissioner Shetta.
Yeah, I started my statement with saying it might be redundant. The only reason I thought about putting this is I hate to relate the board to any future trouble that could result from a variance or so. My thinking is that we started this case with the community board like fully against the variance because of their concern regarding possible living accommodation in the cellar. Now we reach it to like a conclusion for the case. I just wanted to put this to leave it to other sister agencies to like look into an action like that from the applicant side or from whoever owner that's gonna own the property in the future. That the only benefit I could see from like a clause like that is to make people think before they act. And if the board see that it's not needed, I'm fine. It was just a suggestion. So it's up to the board.
Yeah, you know, I want to say that when we say things in the resolutions, it underscores what the law is. A lot of people don't know what the law is.
Yes.
But when you got a resolution, it's recorded against the property. You read it because you're the recipient of the variance. It underscores the law. Not everybody knows that what zoning district they're in and whether the 3 families is permitted. So what you're doing is allowing the illegal use to be installed, and then the disaster of what happens when people get evicted because the owner actually doesn't know. In their defense, they don't know because who knows about their zoning? Nobody really, right? That's why I think it's actually doing a service to the community and to the owner if you lay down what the parameters are. Just in case there is a temptation, there's an outside staircase, for example. There's a 3-piece bathroom, which in Queens didn't used to be allowed. The Department of Buildings wouldn't allow those to be installed at all. I don't know what they do now. So anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, and even sometimes you put the language, you make it clear, and people even like go beyond and just violate. That's why I was like, it might be beneficial.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let's move on.
Item number 22, 2021-66, 56 BZ, 341 39th Street, Brooklyn. I think we just received sign-offs.
I don't know, Jella?
For 2021-56 BZ, we received the DEP sign off for noise and air quality.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, we just received it.
Okay, and we already had the DOT sign off. We got that earlier, right?
Yes, it's signed by the director.
Great, okay. So a leaf rider was provided with the protocols that relate to the loading dock. The protocols should be included in the resolution for our council to note, include those protocols. Security measures were shown. I didn't find fire department sign off. Do we have that? It has to do with that stair enclosure system where there are gates on the entrance to the second floor that prevent free passage down to the first floor. And I've seen those in office buildings, but I don't know if they're even allowed anymore. So that was something that had been proposed at the last and even at the prior hearing, and we needed fire department to look at that. Additional information was provided concerning the future use of the rail yard behind the school and the noise attenuation measures that will be taken to address that. And now we have the sign off, so from DOT and DEP.
Just one thing to note for the record is that the applicant proposed a change to the vapor barrier. So we might get that approval before any vote, but
Okay.
that doesn't hold up anything because we already got a sign off.
Okay. Okay, but so if we're able to close this now, then during the time in between, we might be able to get that approval on the vapor barrier.
Yes.
Great, thanks. Vice Chair Shanda.
I'm very satisfied with the application.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
I am also satisfied with the application.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I wish all the cases are like that one. This is the third hearing and we're at the finish line. Thank you to the applicant.
Thank you, yeah. Commissioner Shabeta.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also satisfied with this application.
Okay,
Move on, Madam Chair.
yes.
Item number 23, 2020-86 BZ, 15 Parkville Avenue, Brooklyn.
We're waiting for DOT review of the last submission. The issue remains about the access location. There was some sort of agreement about relocating the bus stop. I'm not really clear on it. I think it gets moved further down in front of the residential property. I'm not really sure, but we don't have the final sign off from DOT on this. The ZRD1 was not yet obtained with respect to the corner condition in the R district. The applicant submitted to BSA on May 4th, two ZRD1 drafts to forward to DOB. We actually wanted them to submit the drafts of those ZRD1s to us right after the last hearing so that staff could review the language before the applicant submits to DOB itself, but the BSA would try to speed up the review. So they submitted a draft of the language in the ZRD1, which left out a lot of critical facts. So that was amended, and now that should be, and I don't know if it has been submitted to DOB, and let us know, and then we can reach out to DOB from our side, but we don't submit ZRD1s on behalf of applicants. So and not only we sort of can't, there isn't any structure for that. We'd love it if there were, but so far there's no structure to be able to go directly like that. Okay. Okay, those are my comments. Yeah. So Vice Chair Shonda.
Thank you. It seems significant progress has been made with DOT regarding the B11 bus stop and relocating it closer to the intersection of Parkville and the cross street, I think 47th. I have no additional comments. I guess I'm just at this point waiting for all the sign-offs.
Mhm.
I'm satisfied with the application.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So I re-looked at the plans and saw that they were increasing the curb cut width to 15 feet as per DOT suggestions, as well as the ramp being 15 feet in width with a signal at the top and the base of the ramp to kind of caution incoming and outgoing traffic so there's no issue on the ramp. But with the ramp at 15 feet wide, the average vehicle width falls under 7 feet, so that in a pinch, they would both be able to pass each other without doing any harm to each other or to the walls or anything. And so therefore, I'm fine with this. That was my only real issue with the project to begin with, and it's satisfied.
Oh, so an average vehicle width of 7 feet is an average? So that works?
Actually, I'm looking at an article that I had just pulled up before, and aside from full-size pickup trucks, everything else falls under 7 feet width, with most of them coalescing, most of the car types coalescing around 6 feet of width.
Oh, around six feet. So when we
Yeah.
have those 8.5 foot wide parking spaces, that's to allow the door swing?
That's to accommodate doors.
I see. Okay. Oh,
How
okay.
will we know that? You open the door.
What? You've been doored? What?
I said, yeah, when you open the door, if you're too close, bam.
Oh, yeah, you only can open it like a foot and then you have to slither through, right? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shabeta?
You mean Commissioner Sheta?
Shetta.
I'm sorry, Sheta, I'm sorry. I wrote NS and I say Shabeta, sorry.
Fair enough.
That's okay. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I have nothing further to add. Thank
Okay.
you.
Commissioner Sheta, I mean Shabeta. Whatever.
We're interchangeable. I also have no further comments. I was satisfied with the application.
Okay, thank you. It's not
Okay,
fair. Syllables are the same at the beginning. It's really not fair, right? Okay, go ahead.
okay. New cases, item number 24, 2020-74 BZ, 1500 Williams Bridge Road, the Bronx.
We have proof of service of initial application to officials and of notice of hearing to officials and neighbors. Community board recommends approval. We have one letter of objection noting another gas station with convenience store is located across the street and describing its negative impact on the objector's medical facility. I very much appreciate this application, which appropriately and very respectfully anticipates commissioner comments and includes the improvements in the proposed project and other application materials. I mean, the board has been doing things the same way for a very long time. You should anticipate commissioner comments. It speeds things up, right? Hence, landscape, and I believe, yeah, okay. Hence landscaping along the perimeter is already proposed, and there's a masonry trash enclosure. The site is not adjacent to any residential uses, so light spread is less of an issue. But I'd like them to please show the trash enclosure and in-ground planting bed details with curb, and where there is head-in parking, show wheel stops. Also, the 3-foot deep planting bed, that's front to back planting bed, is probably too narrow to allow for good arborvitae growth. So it should be increased to 4 feet front to back. And then I have a question about the location of the handicap parking spot. Is that actually safe for a handicapped driver to offload to exit into that sort of offloading area, which is in the kind of in the stream of traffic flow to the pumps? shouldn't there at least be a protective barrier for that, like bumpers, or bollards, or one of those sort of bollard fences? But that's my only question, and all the seeker review issues have been addressed. So, Vice Chair.
Thank you. I agree. The applicant has been very careful about proposing this plan and being mindful of what the commission has asked in the past. I had one question with regards to all the findings. It meets finding A, finding B. I wasn't quite clear whether it responded to finding B or not, and that is the site located on an arterial highway or not. With regards to finding B2, minimum space for vehicles waiting area, my only concern in this one is the location of the ADA parking space. And as you raised, the location of the ADA parking space seems to be very close to all the other maneuverability actions to and from the gas pump station. And also the fact that the ADA ramp is located on the other side of the vehicular entrance. So a person on wheelchair would have to kind of navigate through the maneuverability and go in front of the air vac system that is there to be able to access the building, the convenience store. I'm not sure if that is the safest location. And I was wondering why wasn't the parking space, ADA parking space, located? Typically we see it, it would be located to the north side of the convenience store where the trash location is. And with the ADA, of the amount of area that is needed for the maneuverability around it. And then the ramp could be located on the other side of the building entrance. It would be, the ramp would start from the north side towards the south rather than starting from the south side towards the north. And the reason I'm stating that, in this case, you have two buildings abutting it. Both are non-residential buildings. These buildings are built to the lot line. There isn't any visual or any barrier. It is basically barricaded from all sides, so noise and other things would be very well protected. So why not locate the trash at the corner of the site and provide the ADA parking where the trash container is located? And you could have a tandem parking in front of the trash container if you want to have that additional parking spaces. We have seen that happen. So since a trash compactor is not going to be accessed all the time, it's only when the pickup is going to happen. So that is my recommendation. I would like to hear from the other commissioners and the applicant if that is possible. With regards to finding B3, vehicle movement will cause minimum obstruction on street and sidewalk. I think the proposed relocation of the curb cuts to be aligned with the realigned gas pump would definitely improve the circulation. And only thing I would want to know is that if any turning movement from the site to the traffic flow would be an issue. That is specifically vehicles exiting onto Williams Bridge. Would they be allowed to make a left turn to go, I guess that would be southbound towards Williams Bridge and vice versa on the Eastchester Road? And that's a question I have. It's like, should we allow left turn or right turn and cutting through the vehicular traffic? That's a DOT question. With regards to B4, the barrier, again, I think the requirement is either a 6-foot high barrier or 4-foot wide dense planting. The applicant is proposing both, but I agree, I think 4-foot wide planting would definitely ensure that these in-ground planting will survive. They should put a note in the plan that the planting would be in-ground 4 foot high at the time of planting, to form a dense screen that is at least 6 foot high. That is what the finding states, and that should be noted in the plan. Provide a curb around the planting area and wheel stop. With regards to B5, with regards to signage, I have no comments. And the lumen study, I don't think it's warranted. So those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Otley Brown.
I was satisfied with the application and have no questions.
Okay. Just a second. Did we? It's a question actually for, or let me just continue and then let me continue with commissioners and I have a question. Commissioner Shetan?
Thank you, Chair. The only like concern I have is that I want to make sure that the information regarding the drainage will be submitted to DEP to look at them and review them. That's the only thing I have. Other than that, I'm satisfied with the application. And I agree that luminous spread is not needed.
Commissioner Shabeta?
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question to the Vice Chair's comments. With the trash compactor, are you referring to put it
It's
towards
not.
the
So for one, it's not a compactor. I need to clean up the language. It's just a trash enclosure.
Are we suggesting to put it towards the on the wall of the diagnostic center, or?
So if you're looking at the plan, there are 2 parking spaces next to the trash enclosure. So my recommendation is, can the trash enclosure be moved to the furthest most parking, where the parking spot is, and right against the planting area? With that would allow for 2 parking spaces. One, the handicap parking spaces that would be next to the building, and next to it another parking space. And the 3rd parking space could be in front of the trash enclosure.
Right, so I think, yeah, did you have more to say?
No, I'm sorry. That's okay with me. Yeah.
So, I mean, just to know though, that it's the dialysis center that's the most opposed to this, and I don't know, without looking now, whether they have windows and stuff.
Well,
and
I was
so,
checking the street view and I didn't see windows on the street view of the dialysis center on that side. The fire department does have some windows towards the curb side of the lot, but there's a wall that is just plain towards the back end of the lot where this trash would be held. I can't be certain, but I don't see any windows on the side of the diagnostic center.
okay.
Madam Chair, if you recall, I think a couple of years ago, or maybe just a year ago, we had approved a special permit for another gas station that was located across from this site, also at the corner of Williamsbridge Road and East Chester. And the dialysis center that is located abutting the subject site that we are discussing also had raised concerns. And the concern was about the traffic. The concern was about the vehicular ingress and that would affect the flow of traffic and patients' ability to get to the site. This was a former gas station which was abandoned, and then the applicant was before us for a special permit for a reuse of a gas station. I think I don't have the address, but I clearly remembered this case when I went to the site.
Right, no, it's mentioned in the materials in the submission, they talk about the other site.
Okay, yes.
But my concern was simply that you don't want to give them more things to be upset about, right? So that's why I was just asking, do you see windows in their building? You know, the photos provided only show the firehouse, which has plenty of windows, but but I don't see the wall of the dialysis in the photos provided. But
if we could, I just want to add, if we could make sure that the pickup of the trash is at a time that the dialysis center is closed, that might be helpful to alleviate some of the this use.
Mhm. Impact on.
Right. I believe the applicant did say that the dialysis center closes at 7 o'clock and the pickup would be after that or something like that.
Okay.
But we could ask for a verification. I vaguely remember reading it somewhere in the document, but applicant should clarify that. That's a good point.
Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that there are two setback windows. I can show them. I believe this is the spot we're talking about here. And
Yeah.
there are these two windows, but I'm not sure if the line of sight from these windows could hit the trash or not.
Right.
Just wanted to like say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Do you want to take your hands down, commissioners, if you're not speaking again?
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Move on, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
Item number 25, 2022-10BZ, 55 Prospect Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, we have proof of service of initial application to officials and of notice of hearing to officials and neighbors. Community board recommends approval. We have one letter in support. School safety does not weigh in on daycare centers, I assume because parents or guardians are accompanying all of the kids. I think this is the first VIVI program, VIVVI program that we've seen at BSA, and I'm not familiar with the model. The statement of fact states that it is, quote, an employer-sponsored program. I'm curious how that functions. It really sounds like a great model for many. I'd like to understand how, this is just more curiosity. I'd like to understand how it ties into the city's UPK program. Is it an overlap? Is it subsidized? And how does that work with the employer-based concept? Also, the statement of fact states that the subject site fits within a 1 mile radius of, quote, its location, unquote. What is the location that they're referring to? Also, please explain how the ADA access from the street works. I didn't quite see how that makes it all the way over to the entrance to the school. I'm curious about the toilet rooms. This is also just out of curiosity. Often we see many daycare centers, and most of the time they put the toilet rooms in each individual room for the kids. And this one instead, so it's dedicated to that classroom. And in this one, they're ganged collected toilets. And I'm wondering how that works because we've heard other reports that it's kind of a mess when you have them collected. I just wonder, these guys do a lot of daycare centers, so they obviously have a model. I'm just curious about this model. Also, is there a requirement for access to outdoor play for this age group? If yes, how is that accomplished? Is there a nearby park that is easily accessible as opposed to sort of green space around the highways? I thought the application was extremely well organized, clear, and complete. And so I thank the applicant for putting it together like that so that commissioners can read an application that's basically ready to consider. We just need sign-offs from DOT and DEP. DOT and DEP on this for the seeker aspect. So, Vice Chair Shanda.
Thank you. Just a couple of corrections. First of all, I think the planned safety stroller trash, that drawing and the comments should be incorporated into the final drawings. There are two separate sets. I at least in the plan submitted that would be submitted for DOB, didn't indicate the location for the stroller. At least I didn't find it because it's shown as stroller storage, but it is in the cross-hatched area of the building that is not part of the daycare. So that should be clarified in the drawing. And this is A101.00. So the other thing is that the dedicated stairway layout for the daycare facility is incorrect. And this is the one that is connecting the daycare facility that is located on the first floor to the cellar. Both the down and the up arrow are starting from the same direction. So I think that's just a graphical correction that needs to be corrected. Graphical error, drafting error. So as I mentioned, indicate in the plan where the strollers will be stored and clarify the ADA accessibility to the school area and the cellar. I'm assuming there isn't a separate elevator for the building, for the daycare facility. It would be the one that the building uses. So there's an access from the elevator to the building. I couldn't quite figure it out in the plan. So if the applicant can just walk me through that, that would be helpful. Otherwise, with regards to all the findings, I am just going through my notes. I do not have any comments. The notes regarding the DEP, once DEP approves it, the note regarding the DBA and the window wall attenuation, those should be incorporated into the plan. Otherwise, I was quite satisfied with the submission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner I. Brown?
Yeah, so my question is aimed at the definding in terms of the vehicle trips. They're stating they only expect 6 vehicle trips in and out in the AM and the PM, but they haven't yet talked about what their plans are for loading and unloading in that area. I'm not sure if the board knows this, but this property, well, this entrance is actually right on a major route to both the BQE and also to the Brooklyn Bridge. And it is very crowded with cars during rush hour. I take this route actually often. And so there is no standing any time on both sides of that street because they want to facilitate traffic moving through there, which means that I would like to know if somebody wants to drive their car and drop their kids off, for instance, on their way to work, how is that going to be managed?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. Well, we're waiting for DOT to finish its review, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Actually, DOT did issue comments and we're expecting a response from the applicant now, hopefully soon.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. The only comment I would add is regarding the violations. The applicant indicated that the building owner is in the process of filing the required documentation to evidence compliance for some of the violations. I would like them to confirm that none of these violations is of structural nature, and if any is, they would clear it and ensure that the building is structurally fit for the intended use before the permit is issued. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks. I think they sent a list of the violations. Have to look again to see if any of them are related to structure. Often they're just like elevator violations and things like that, but we can, okay, thank you. Commissioner Shibeta?
Thank you, Chair. I had the same similar comments to those of Commissioner Holly Brown with regard to traffic, as I'm familiar with this neighborhood. I wait to hear from DOT and see what they respond to those.
Hold on a second. Yeah, Vice Chair Shonda has her hand up.
Got to actually mention one of the comments that I had, which was also regarding vehicular drop-off. The applicant is proposing to have a drop-off and pickup on Adams Street, which is a one-way westbound street. And there are like 2 or 3 parking spaces there. So my comment was I needed DOT to weigh in on the proposed change to the one-way park to the on-street parking regulations on that, and also for the applicant to clarify in its statement how the two car parking space would be adequate for the number of drop-off and pickup, vehicular drop-off and pickup in its narrative. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Otley Brown, for reminding me.
Okay. All right.
Okay, no more comments?
No.
Okay, so this concludes the review session for May 24th, 2022.
Okay. Are we okay to just keep going? Yes.
Okay, we'll now commence with the public hearing for May 24th. So good morning. We are now having the May 24th, 2022 public hearing. The first item up is zoning calendar, continued hearing items. Item number 2016-4463 BZ, 6202 14th Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay, Ms. J. Unmute yourself or accept panel. There you
Jason.
go.
Yeah, there's a delay of like 10 seconds.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
The only one, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond on honest city board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Jay Goldstein on behalf of the applicant. We listened to the review session. We received DOT comments, which we believe hopefully will be the last round of comments from them on Thursday. And we need about 2 weeks to respond to them.
Just to respond, so we need to wait. For
Right, but I mean, Tracy can weigh in on this. I think that they're minor, or at least from my understanding, they're minor. So I'm curious if Tracy has any insight into this and how we can proceed with it.
Mhm.
I don't know if
Well, I
Tracy.
think DOT requested some sort of warrant analysis. I don't know how extensive that is. So
Sorry, what kind of analysis?
a 4-way warrant study.
4-way warrant. Oh, okay.
It's stuff that we've done a number of times. So I'm a little bit of a loss, but I guess if Tracy, if you believe that's more than, I thought it was minor. If you believe it's a little more than that, then I guess we'll have to wait and respond and wait for their responses.
Okay. Okay. I don't think there were any other comments from commissioners. So let's go to the public.
The case we are currently discussing is 2016-4463 BZ. The address is 6202 14th Avenue, Brooklyn. This is for a school. Should you wish to discuss, please dial in 646-558-8656. You will enter the webinar ID number, which is 938-3465-5364, and the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press a pound sign. Once you're in the Zoom room, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak. If you are in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand. And this is only for 2016-4463 BC, 6202 14th Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay. So while we wait to see if anyone calls in, there are a lot of people in the waiting room, so I don't know if any of them are for this case. Okay, so please raise your Zoom hand if you're in the waiting room. Nobody's called in so far. Okay, so we don't really know. You know what we can do is I'll note 3 weeks to submit to allow for the turnaround.
Right.
If we find out something different, we can adjust it. So you'll get you get, as usual, our proposed date for the next hearing, and we can decide through DEP, through DOT, whether that's enough time.
Okay, can I ask, I know the board doesn't do this, But given the fact that there's nothing to be changed or submitted on my end beyond the DOT interaction,
No, it's a seeker. We don't.
no, not to close today, but
Oh.
once we get sign off, if possible, to do a close and vote on the next hearing date.
I can't speak for that, so that's a policy consideration on behalf of council and so on. We're trying not to have that be a thing,
For sure.
because it really does create chaos on a lot of different sides. So that's why we stopped doing the closed votes. And the one you heard was a very, very unusual case that had been going on for a long time and only reopened to receive materials,
No,
Yeah.
that's fine. I know the board's
Decide.
policies.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
the policies. I'm just, if the board sees, because there's nothing besides a DOT sign off, if the board's policy allows it, I would appreciate it.
But we have many cases that fall within that, so now you're opening the gates to going back to the closed votes and resolutions not coming out for 6 months, right? So
I
that's.
had to ask.
Yeah, so now you know what the reason that, the rationale is, and it's the reason why prior boards probably didn't do closed votes. And we experimented with that and found out that it wasn't a good experiment.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna write 3 weeks and check with DOT.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on?
Yeah.
Item number 21, 2021-29 BZ, 3904 Orloff Avenue, the Bronx.
Please raise your hand if this is your case. I think it might be
This is
Todd.
Todd.
Yeah.
Join us panelist, Todd.
Good morning.
Morning. The only one here?
I am the only one here.
Okay. Do you affirm to tell the truth? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do affirm. Thank you. So
Please state your name for the record.
my name is Todd Dale, attorney for the property owner and the applicant. I did attend or listen into the review session, and it seems that the board's concerns were addressed. I would just make just 2 quick comments. First, I would just echo what the vice chair said, that in this particular instance, this zoning district allows a maximum of 2 family. So, concerns about an additional dwelling unit would be controlled by the use. And as someone who often has to appear before the ECB or in court regarding use violations, I can tell you that those are of a higher level of prosecution standards by the Department of Buildings with respect to use. So there is that control. But I would just offer this out to council, should this be granted for consideration for the resolution. I know there's the standard clause in a lot of resolutions referencing the administrative code. Perhaps if the board wanted an extra level, there could be like a parenthetical after that, because the housing maintenance code that's referenced on the plan note is part of the administrative code. So perhaps just add a parenthetical there to say administrative code, including housing maintenance code subchapter 3, article 5, if that adds a little extra level of protection that might address some of the board's concerns.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. All right, let's go to the public.
Okay, the case that we are currently discussing is 2021-29 BZ, 3904 Orloff Avenue, the Bronx. Should you wish to discuss construction of a 2-family house, dial 646-558-8656. You will enter the webinar ID number, which is 938-3465-5364, and press pound. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign. Once you're in the Zoom room, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to speak. If you are already in the Zoom room, please raise your Zoom hand. And once again, we are only discussing 2021-29 BZ, 3904 Orloff Avenue, the Bronx at this moment.
Okay, so we'll give it there's no submission, and assuming no comments from community members, we can close this, but I need to talk slowly, so I allow time for this. Okay. All right, then. So we can close this and try to put it on for the next hearing for a decision. So I'm gonna note that we're putting it on for June. I think it's June 7th. Does that sound right?
June 6th or 7th?
Yeah. No submission. Okay. All right, thank you very much. So a motion to close.
Chair Perlmutter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Shetta.
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 22, right? Going in order since we have.
Yeah,
these sign-offs?
Yeah. Right, Stella, is that right? We're okay to continue?
Yes, we did receive the DEP
FDNY.
sign off. We also received an FDNY no objection email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you forward that to us? So,
Yeah, I forwarded it, but you guys were discussing other cases during the session. But
okay, so I just want to, before, okay, let's call, did you already call the case, Tony? I'm sorry.
No, do you want me to continue?
Yeah, so now we can
Okay.
continue. Yeah.
Okay, item number 22, 2021 56 BZ, 341 39th Street, Brooklyn.
Right, okay. All right, please raise your Zoom hand if this is your case. If there's an, okay, Fay-Ann's coming in, right.
So we have a few more: Amber, Kurt, Esther, and Matthew Fisher, and Kevin.
Sorry, okay, Kevin.
Williams.
Who else? Esther Ehrlich.
Yes. Matthew Fisher, and things are changing all at once. Kurt Riggs.
Kurt is not going to be joining.
Oh, he's not joining. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, everyone please join as panelists, unmute. Picture if you can. Mr. Fisher?
Matt, are you there?
Is he gonna speak? Maybe.
I don't think he's going to speak, so I think we could continue.
Are we good then, the fan?
Mhm, we're good.
Okay, those of you who are available, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Miss Ehrlich, please unmute.
yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, good morning. Van Baton from Shell Mobile PC for the applicant. We attended the review session, and I believe we have finally reached the finish line, hopefully. We received sign off from the agencies. I don't know if there was anything left outstanding.
No, I don't think so, other than hopefully getting the vapor barrier sign off between now and decision date. I just want to, so we're going to go to the public. Let's go to the public. I do have a question for fire department. And
Okay, the case we are currently discussing is 2021 56 BZ, 341 39th Street, Brooklyn. This is a school, Brooklyn Prospect Charter School. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-558-8656, enter webinar ID number 938-3465-5364, press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you are in the Zoom room, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to speak. If you are in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand. And the only case we are discussing currently is 2021 56 BZ, 341 39th Street, Brooklyn.
So if you're in the room and you'd like to speak on this, please raise your Zoom hand. My question, so Commissioner Seta, because you're always so fast with getting the materials, can you go to a revised plan? There's one that was submitted 5/16 for this application 2021-56 BZ.
Sure.
Thank you. Because we received an email from fire department saying they don't have an objection to the key card. That's actually not my question, and I understand that it was done quickly while we were talking. I want to be able to point out what I'm looking at.
I'm sorry, you want to look at the revised plans?
Yeah, revised plan submitted 5/16/22.
Sure.
And it's just, let me get there. Thank you. It's the first, there's a lot of plans in between, not the existing, but the proposed. I guess it's the proposed first floor plan. Hold on a second, let me just make sure. No, actually, it's the proposed second floor plan.
That one.
Yeah, hold on a second, I need to click on it so it's bigger. How come it's showing? Oh, maybe. Huh, it's showing up really small. Can everyone see that? I'm seeing it as.
I can zoom in.
Yeah. So we're going to drawing, yes. Drawing, is it BSA 203? Sorry, I'm looking at it on my own screen. So my question for Chief Daly is this: when you look at the staircase all the way over on the left side, I need to get off of this shared screen thing. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That staircase on the left side, you see there are doors. This is the second floor, a metal gate connected to the fire alarm. And the idea of it is to prevent people from the third floor going down the stairs, except in an emergency. And I'm not exactly sure what controls that gate, right? So the idea is that the staircase is being used exclusively by the school, except in emergencies. So the students travel from the second floor down to the cellar, I guess, through that staircase, and there's another one treated the same. And my question is that door okay? Because I've seen it in old buildings. I don't know whether it's permitted in new situations.
Are we talking about the gate or the door?
This gate, not the door, not the egress door. Yeah, you see the gate. The gate is intended to prevent people upstairs from using this staircase except in an emergency. And I don't know anything about how the release works. Maybe when the fire alarm goes off, it releases that gate. That part I don't know. But the idea is that people office occupants on the third floor can't open the gate on a normal day. Otherwise, they'll interact with children who are using the staircase.
The fire department has no objection to that gate.
Okay.
There are similar to public schools that have this type of arrangement, and we find it acceptable, and we have no objection.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, then. Those were my comments. So let's see if there are any people calling in. No, I don't see anybody calling in. So I guess, sorry. Place here. I'm just looking at where we were. Okay, so I think all of the issues have been addressed, right? We don't have any more open seeker issues. You can take your shared screen off, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thanks. So Tracy, right? We're okay with seeker?
Yes, we have all the sign offs, and if the vapor barrier change comes in, that'll be great. But it's just extra at this point since they signed off on the original plan.
Okay, then.
Yeah,
So-
Tracy, can I just, to that point, if we hear back from DEP by the time we close to clarify whether or not the bathrooms can be excluded from the vapor barrier because there's already tile, that's great. Obviously, we don't want to encumber the applicant with having to, rip out the existing flooring. That said, if we don't want to delay a close. So we're going to have to make do with the conditions that are currently specified in the RAP.
Okay. But
Well, we can close and then, yeah.
May I ask that if we do close today, I know the school's under a very tight deadline. I was just wondering if we do submit a revised EAS this week, if the board will be amenable to a special vote end of this week or early next week.
So it wouldn't be a special vote. We could put it on for June 6th, though.
We couldn't do it earlier like we've done for other schools.
I don't want to make any commitment to that. I can't. All I can say, we can talk about it, but I can't commit to that. But why is June 6th isn't 2 weeks?
I just know for the construction timeline. I don't know, Esther or
Yeah.
Steve.
Hi. So what we are trying to make sure is that obviously this needs to be approved by DOB. And then with the Schedule A approved by DOB, we will get the approval from FDNY to do the inspections. We know that we are in this very, very tight schedule to get all the inspections needed for opening in September for the school to start. So that's where we're trying to get as soon as possible this approval.
Understood. Okay, we'll discuss it. I can't make any representations about that here. Okay.
Understood.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion, but I do appreciate the responsiveness of your team. I know that everyone was under a lot of pressure on this case. I can see it in your faces. So
And thank you to DOT and DEP. If they hear about this, they gave us very quick reviews on this.
Yeah, so thank you very much to them, especially both of them, but we know that DEP is very short-staffed. And so when they focus on BSA cases, it's extraordinarily appreciated. So thank you. All right, so a motion to close.
Chair Perlmutter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Shetta,
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
All right.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Chair,
Yeah,
would it be helpful to them if we gave them a letter that the case is closed and it's scheduled for decision on such and such? I believe that would be helpful for them with their inspection.
yeah, let's talk about that. We can make representations like this online. I don't know. So
Okay.
this is a conversation that should be had with council, with our council and with our executive director. Okay, I don't know what it is DOB needs. And we can't have a decision before we have a decision. And they need a resolution. So, that's part of it. The resolution takes time to draft. So getting a decision but no resolution doesn't do you much good. That's one reason why we have a time delay between the close and the vote. So, okay, all right.
Appreciate that consideration, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Item, hold on, next one, Madam Chair. Item number 23, 2020 86 BZ 15 Parkville Avenue, Brooklyn.
Hey, Neil.
Hi, good morning. Neil Weisbard on behalf of the applicant.
Good morning. Are you here with anyone else?
Yes, COVID Saxana from Sam Schwartz's office in case he's needed. He should be in the lobby.
Yeah. That's it?
That's it.
Can you unmute Mr. Sexana and participate, panelists?
Good morning. My colleague Jeff Smithline is also in the lobby, if you can permit him to join.
There you go.
Mr. Smithline, can you unmute and join as panelists, please?
All right, hi, I'm here now. This is Jeff Smithline.
All righty. You're not going to join as panelist?
He is.
There he is. Okay, nice to see you. Raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Yes.
Okay. State your name for the record, Mr. Weisbrod.
Hi, Neil Weisbart on behalf of the applicant. Good morning, everyone. We attended an executive session this morning, and it appears the only outstanding issues are DOT sign-off and the submission and approval of the ZRD1s. We've been provided with the board's comments to the ZRD1s. We appreciate their review prior to our submission, and we plan on formally filing with DOB this week. And I believe that's the only issues. I might have heard at an earlier hearing that the hearing can't be closed with a DOT approval pending.
Correct.
If that's the case, then I think we would only need sufficient time for, because we believe DOT is imminent, but the DOB approval of the ZRD1s, whatever the board feels is an appropriate time, I would think we could have, if we submit this week and there's some pushing by the board, that we can have an answer within a few weeks to a month.
Mhm. Okay. I don't know. We really know about the ZRD1 process, unfortunately. Right, but we can certainly ask, but let us know the second that it's submitted and send us a copy of it, okay?
Will do.
Send us a signed and sealed copy of it, all right?
Okay, we'll send a full submission.
Yes, please. Because that way we can forward that. Yeah, go ahead, Chase.
And Mr. Weisbart, just please copy me on that email. Whether you do send to submit, just please copy counsel's office.
Will do.
Okay, all right then. So I don't think there are any other issues. So let's go to the public.
So the case we are currently discussing is 2020-86BZ, 15 Parkville Avenue, Brooklyn. This is for an ambulatory diagnostic facility. Parking reduction. If you wish to discuss this, dial 646-558-8656. You will enter the webinar ID number, which is 938-3465-5364, and the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will enter the pound sign again. Once you are in the Zoom room, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. If you're already in the Zoom room now, please raise your Zoom hand. And once again, we are only discussing 2020-86BZ, 15 Parkville Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay. So I want to give people time to call in. If you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand. I don't see any phone numbers in the Zoom room. So we're waiting. So I'm noting a month to submit and sort of the turnaround of the ZRD1. Don't know if that's accurate, but we'll reach out. Please submit it immediately. Okay, so we can get this moving. Okay, so I don't see anyone added to the waiting room and no one raising their hand. So we can, wondering whether we can close this. No, we can't. We have open seeker, sorry. Right, okay. All right, so we can't close. So thank you very much. And hopefully you'll take care of the open seeker issues and clarify the whole situation with the bus stop and all that stuff. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Bye.
New cases out of number 24, 2020-74BZ, 1500 Williams Bridge Road, the Bronx.
Okay. Allowing Mr. Kanzada.
Hello?
Hi. You have a lot of background noise. Can you?
Sorry, is that better?
Yeah, it's better. Could you identify? Ooh. Whenever the door opens, it's really noisy.
Okay, we'll keep it
You
close.
identify all of the people who are in the room with you?
Nasir Radada, I'm the applicant.
Okay.
Nancy Lee Paul. Diwakar Gupta.
Can you spell Nancy's last name, please?
Lee, Lee, space Paul.
Okay. And Mr. Gupta. What's your first name again?
Diwakar, Diwakar.
Diwakar?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Swearing?
Yes.
Yes, ready? No one else, right? Okay. Do you affirm, raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes. Okay. Okay, so we listened to the review session this morning, and we can make the changes that the board requested. So we'll add the curb cuts and the wheel stops to our plans. We'll make the planting beds 4 feet instead of 3 feet. There was a question about an arterial highway. I believe the closest arterial highway is 2,500 feet away from the site, Hutchinson Parkway. The trash pickup will be after 7:30 p.m. when the dialysis center closes, and we'll have trash picked up twice a week and recycling once a week. And then we can move the handicap parking like in the trash enclosure as it was suggested. So we'll place the trash enclosure towards the northern corner of the site, away from 4 feet away from the lot line because of the planting bed. And then we'll have the handicap parking to the side of it, closer to the building, on the side of the building. And then the wheelchair ramp will be on the opposite side of the building.
Okay.
As suggested.
It will be a 17-foot long ramp. We do have a significant slope, which is kind of why we had originally located it in front of the site. We can bank it a little bit, so maybe we might be able to get away with 12-foot long ramp.
Okay, well, you'll take a look at, and maybe, and if you find other locations that might work better and address wow, so much noise in the background. And if you can find other locations that might work better relative to the ramp, please do so. You heard what the concerns are. It's really
yes,
exiting into traffic of a person who is in a wheelchair. So, okay. I just wanted the arterial highway distance. I just want to check that against the statute. Hold on a second. Council, can you be doing that? 73 to 11. It says that is not located on an arterial highway or a major street. So that's the other thing, whether this is considered a major street.
So I'll check if this is considered a major street. We'll check.
Okay. Okay. All right then. Okay. So I don't think there were
any comments.
Oh, so we wanted, have you already worked on the drainage plan on this?
we have to submit a site connection proposal anyway because it's a new building.
Okay.
And that, I mean, some of this, what the grading is an issue, trying to make sure the water goes where it needs to go and not back to the street.
Okay. And this is a question for Tracy actually and Jella, because this was, I think, occurred while Jella was handling seeker review. DOT had expressed interest in looking at new cases for.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Oh, I don't know what to do. 1 second. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So while this is a question for Tracy and Jella, because Jella was handling seeker review during the time that this got presented to us, the DOT had been asking to review new cases, new buildings. Oh, boy. Now I'm echoing. Do you hear the echo?
Yeah.
I'll try it back here. New buildings for drive-throughs. Were they also asking to see new buildings for gas stations?
Hi. They have not specifically asked for to see new buildings at gas stations. I believe the no action here was, I will look into this, but I believe there may have been an existing gas station here.
Right.
But there are incremental trips that could occur with a new building.
I see. Right. So it's not so much the incremental, but I thought it was that for new locations. So this one originally established in 1959. So it obviously has been a gas. Maybe Mr. Kanzada, you want to speak to the history of the site, and maybe that's a way that we address this.
Sure. So this site was originally a gas station, and there actually used to be a building at the site. I believe it was demolished sometime in the 70s with BSA approval, and then they made it a self-service site, and now we want to make a new convenience store added to the gas station. And while we're doing this, we're taking away one of the dispensers. So we're going from 5 dispensers to 4 dispensers.
Okay, so basically the traffic condition is the same now, other than whatever gets added as a result of a convenience store, right? Which is normally related to your driving on to get gas, and then you run in and you get something, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So then it's not an issue. Yeah. Vice Chair Shanda, do you want to add something?
Yeah, since I had raised the question about the vehicular movements, I was just curious, given that this was the prior the existing gas station also had a prior board approval. Were there any conditions associated with it, with the prior one, specifically with regards to vehicular circulation?
I would have to check, but I think there wasn't anything more specific than like vehicular movement won't impede traffic or pedestrian. I'll check.
Okay, thank you.
I think though the prior resolutions were included in the submission, no? Somewhere in here. Radius, thing like that. Revise. Correspondence.
I couldn't locate it.
Yeah, did you actually do a, so I see Commissioner Shetta's hand up and Carlos. So go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just share my screen very quickly. Yeah, Mr. Kanzada, I did raise these 2 comments during the executive session, but one of them is I'm looking at that plan. It's kind of confusing for me because it's showing the foundations, and in the meantime, it's an architectural plan. So I'm not sure why are you showing the foundations here. If you wanna like take them off, or if you insist on leaving them like that, you can put them in a separate plan. I just want to make sure that for the portion of that cellar adjacent to the existing building, you're considering doing underpinning or something like that if the adjacent building doesn't have if it doesn't have a cellar. So keep that in mind. I just want to like alert you about that. The other thing, I see section B and section A. When I move to the section views, it's just section A that's in the views here. I don't see section B indicated on the drawings. So again, if you wanna take like the identification for section B off, or if you want to keep it, just add section B to the plans. That the other thing is regarding these two existing footings. This is kind of a disclaimer. I'm just raising this to make sure that we alerted you. I'm not sure if you're planning on keeping these two existing footings, or you're gonna knock them down, or what is the plan for them?
To be removed. This footing will be removed when the new building comes in. This footing will be removed. So I will just clarify that existing footing to be removed.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. And for the drainage components, you confirmed that you're gonna like submit the entire design of the drainage system to the DEP to look at it and listen, right?
Yes, it's ready to go. I have it ready to go, but I'm waiting for the BSA approval. After that, it's going to submit to site connection proposal in Bronx. It will happen.
Just curious, where is the location for the dry wells?
It has to be 5 feet and 10 feet away from building and the property line. So I would say all the way in the bottom, somewhere on the either bottom or right side. Most probably in the bottom, which is close to Williams Bridge Road side. Yes. No, on the right side.
No, East Chester.
Okay, here.
Right here, yes, and this corner.
Okay.
Yes.
That if you look at the plan for the maneuvering, I'm not sure what this line is. I believe you should take that line off, because it's giving me an impression that the street is turning like that. It's not. This is like an intersection, correct?
Commissioner Shata agreed 100%. I'll take it out. No problem. It makes
Thank
sense.
you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Carlo Costanza, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair. No, I just wanted to clarify for the board members with regards to the site history. Of course, this application is being filed under 73-11. So it's completely a different statute. Nothing of the 1141 remains. So it's kind of a fresh look. The second would be that even if this was still subject like a reinstatement under 1141, the building wouldn't have been contemplated. So it's clear that we need to focus on this as a 73-11. And the second part, just to clarify the importance of the arterial highway or major street, it dictates the maximum size of the lot, of the zoning lot, that could be attributed to the automotive service station.
Right, and so what is the size of this?
So if it weren't on an arterial or a major street, then the limitation of the lot size would have to be no greater than 15,000 square feet.
Right, and so that's what I'm just checking. What's the size of this zoning lot then?
It's about 9,000.
9,000.
Right, so it might be irrelevant.
Right, okay, I see. So in other words, it ties those two things together. If it's this, then the maximum size is that. Otherwise, you can have a bigger size.
Correct. Regardless of whether you're on a major arterial or not, there's a minimal lot size that's required.
Right.
They meet that. If they're not on an arterial and it's not a major street, then they're limited to 15,000 square feet, which I believe they're representing. It's about 9. So it doesn't really matter.
Right. Okay. So we don't need to go and find out whether it's a major street. It's less than 15,000 square feet.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. Okay. Vice Chair Shanda. And, and so I think part of the point of raising the history of the site is the maneuverability was related to a different kind of a condition and different gas stations. So maybe we're looking at without a building on it. So maybe we're looking at a new situation. Yeah. Carla, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think a little bit about that language of one of the findings of like the queuing that I think Madam Vice Chair had brought up. It's kind of a funny, a little antiquated. I was sometimes under the belief that it was related to reservoir spaces for automobiles awaiting service, but there is no auto repair bay here. But it can also be read that separate and apart from the vehicles at the pump, right? And the way it used to read was that you didn't count the vehicles in the pump and within the auto bay. you would have to have 5 reservoir spaces on site. But
Mhm.
not sure, you know, I don't want it to be my interpretation. It's just, that's the way I've read it once in a while when it's been posed to us. Again, I think at that time, they used to really, you know, convenience stores weren't up until about 98 contemplated as accessory. So
Yeah.
it was always automotive repair and gas sales. And I think
Right.
it's like a little bit of a fuzzy language left over.
Yeah, remnant. So anyway, we have 6 parking spaces the way it's laid out now, so we exceed the reservoir space requirement. Okay.
Yeah,
thank
and I believe that because the convenience store, even though it's acting as an accessory, right? This isn't a commercial district. You know, we typically accept, I think, between the TPPN,
Mhm.
kind of a parking requirement, obviously the handicap accessible parking spaces.
Right.
So this, I think, would meet the criteria.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair, go ahead. You're muted.
Better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Costanza, for the clarification. I think the reason I was wanting to see if there were any prior conditions related to traffic was that, and if that was still applicable. I recognize that the site location, configuration, number of things, all of that has changed. It's just something for us to know if that is still applicable. If not, no, of course, it's going to be reviewed as a new case. I completely get that. It's just that if there were things that we needed to be aware of and see if those are still applicable today under the new plan layout and configuration. That's all.
Wait, sorry,
But
you mean the word applicable? You don't mean, is the old variance applicable to this condition?
no, I don't mean it that way. I don't mean the old variant. I don't mean the old conditions being applicable. Are those issues still existing that we need to be aware of? And those, I understand this is a completely new site with new configuration and less number of pumps. So, but just something for us to.
So
be
the only
aware.
way that we could know about it is to get copies of the old resolutions, which we don't have in the folder, which is actually normally we cite the history of the site, even if we aren't considering the conditions anymore. Yeah, Jella had her hand up and then Chase, go ahead.
I agree with what Carlos said. I just wanted to add for the seeker purposes, the no action was the existing gas station.
Yeah, right.
Just to clarify. Thank you.
And go ahead, Chase Fine.
Thank you. I would just request that the applicant do submit a full copy of the board history resolutions for this application because we will be referencing prior BSA history on the premises.
Right, okay. Did you say you did that, Mr. Canzada, or you will?
Yeah, we submitted about 2 weeks ago, but we can resubmit it.
Yeah, I think you need to.
That's fine.
It didn't make it into our folder. I don't know why. So please resubmit. Thanks. Carlo, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, no, I just agree with both Mr. Vine and Ms. Prenga, because in the consideration of both the secret review and establishing that the no build, that the grid already recognizes that there's been this auto-related use on the site for a very long period of time. And for the purposes of just citing the history for the resolution, I was just going to reinforce that it's important that we have those documents.
Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you. Good. All right, then let's go to the public.
So the case we are currently discussing is 2020-74 BZ, 1500 Williamsbridge Road, the Bronx. This is an operation of an automotive service station. Should you wish to discuss, please dial 646-558-8656. You will enter the webinar ID number as 938-3465-5364 and the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign. Once you're in the Zoom room, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak. If you are already in the Zoom room, please raise your Zoom hand. And once again, all we are discussing currently is 2020-74 BZ, 1500 Williamsbridge Road, The Bronx.
Great, thanks. Someone raised their hand. Oh, I saw someone in the waiting room raise their hand briefly, but maybe that was a mistake. There's one person who, yes, Angela Kelleher, I'm admitting. Please state your name.
Yes, hi.
Wait, sorry, you must turn off your
YouTube, please, Ms. Kelleher.
Yes, hi.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Angela Kelleher, president of Frenang Realty Corp. We own 1615 Eastchester Road, which is across the street from this 1500 Williamsbridge Road. First of all, there's a gas station already behind our building at the corner of Williamsbridge and Eastchester. That's the first thing. We have a lot of issues with the convenience store, the garbage and debris thrown into our drains. We have to have them cleaned out regularly. Secondly, our patients are on dialysis. They're very sick people. They need access to treatment 3 times a week. There's incredible amounts of traffic already on Eastchester Road, which is a major medical hub. Jacobi, Einstein, Montefiore, and on and on and on. From Williamsbridge Road all the way to Pelham Parkway, it's one huge hub of medical intervention, doctors, clinics. So my question to you is, first of all, why do we need another gas station when we've got one already on the street right behind us, causing all kinds of issues? Secondly, with the traffic flow and the need for patients to be able to have access to their health care, why do we need more traffic on Eastchester Road? Seems like the application is redundant and should have DOT take a look at the traffic pattern, which is already massive on Eastchester Road.
I have a question. Thank you for your testimony. We do appreciate your attending. When I put in 1615 Eastchester Road, I'm looking at the site that we're looking at. So there already is, that's the gas station that you're referring to that's already behind you. This is an existing gas station, and all they're talking about is changing the sort of the configuration of the pump island and putting in a convenience store. So it's not a new gas station, it's an existing one. And the other gas station that you're talking about, I think, is the one across the street from you, which is not the subject of this application. So I'm a little confused. These are existing uses. And
okay, so I guess then I'm confused as well. I'm understanding that the gas station was going in across the street from us.
No, so that's a completely separate subject. That may be a new one under a prior approval, but we're talking about the one that's next to the firehouse, and it looks like behind your building.
Okay, so all right, so that's fine, but we've already got problems with that gas station because people walk along Eastchester Road and they throw their bottles and their garbage into our drains. I have to send the roofer constantly, at our expense, of course, to clean those drains. When the drains back up, we get flooding in our building. And obviously, we don't want that to happen with a dialysis hospital. So
I don't understand. How are they? Your building is a 1 to 3 story building or something?
No,
right?
We're not. We're a story and a half.
Story and a half. How are they?
The drains come straight down on the left side of our building, and it's very easy to have the access to throw garbage in our drains. Happens all the time.
Okay. So you know what I'm going to suggest, because we don't want to go back and forth. I want to suggest that you meet with the owner and the engineers who are currently right on this call to discuss your drainage issue, because it's possible that they'll be able to address it somehow to the extent it affects their property line. They can't account for anybody who walks down the street in front of your property that's fronting on, what is it, Jared Place? They obviously can't control what pedestrians do, right? But in terms of the people who are on their lot, where the gas station lot, to the extent that there's some kind of a drainage connection there, they can discuss that with you. So I really recommend that their team meets with your management, your building management people, and sees if there's an issue that they can address, because, you know, regular pedestrians being, you know, throwing litter isn't something that any individual business can control. Okay, so I do thank you. Can you maybe send us your contact information and we can forward it to the applicant? Okay.
We've already submitted a written testimony.
Okay, right, that's true.
Contact information.
Okay, so we will forward that, if they haven't already seen it, to the applicant team. And I'd like them to discuss this issue together to see whether it's actually anything that they could do something about, okay?
So what are we doing here? We're taking the same gas station, which I thought already had a convenience store.
No, it doesn't. They're building a new convenience store, and they're rearranging the pump islands. And you know what? I think the best to do is for them to show you what they plan to do, so that you can discuss it with them, as opposed to us trying to explain it sort of in the air a little bit like this, you know. They can show you what they're actually doing on the site. There is no convenience store on the site at the moment. It's just the gas station. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in. I don't see anyone else on the phone having called in. Okay, so how much time, Mr. Kanzada and company, do you need to submit response?
2 weeks, yeah.
Really?
Window of 2 weeks, yeah. I just have to relook at the trash enclosure.
Well, we also have seeker review that needs to be completed, right?
Okay.
So.
Are there going to be any changes to the seeker application if we're changing the proposed location of the trash enclosure and the?
No, shouldn't affect that. Shouldn't be.
I don't know. Tracy, you need to have it's not a different seeker review, it's what the plans have to match, right?
Okay.
So yeah, Jella?
It appears seeker is closed. They just need to the most updated plan set needs to be attached to the final EAS.
Okay, so seeker is closed. So, I didn't realize that. Okay. So, sorry, could you mute? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So if seeker is closed, then let me just see. So we're just cleaning up the drawings. All right, how about this? We can close this, assuming that, and if we have to reopen, we can reopen, because the only issue is really where does the parking space, the ADA space go? And I want to see also the details on the trash enclosure and the planting area, which we've already discussed. So assuming all of those things get handled, we could close. So how much time do you need to respond to that? And also I would ask that you meet in the meantime with Ms. Kelleher's business to see if there's anything that needs to be added to the design, like perhaps there's something with the garden or an additional fence or something like that that will protect the drainage. This part I didn't really understand how your site affects her drainage. Okay.
I can manage in 2 weeks, so it's up to you. I can manage in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
2 weeks, yes.
All right. Okay. It's so in terms of our hearing schedule, it probably you'll get a little more. So I'm going to say 3. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So motion to close then.
Chair Promoter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
item number 25, 2022-10BZ, 55 Prospect Street, Brooklyn.
Okay. Right. Mr. Highland, are you joined with? You're joined by Charles Bonello, who is with you?
Yes,
What-
Charles Bonello from Vivi, the applicant, and I believe the architect is also on.
Name.
The name, please.
Carol Gretter.
No, yeah, so there are two people in Mr. Bonello's view.
Right.
One at a time, one at a time.
Say it again.
Charles Bonello and Benjamin Newton. They're from Vivi, the applicant.
Benjamin Newton.
Newton.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Tony.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's it.
I believe the architect is on or will be coming on. But
Yes, I'm here, Carol Gretter.
okay, good.
All right, we all good?
Hi, I'm here, yeah.
Okay, raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond to board member questions, honestly, to board member questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, proceed, Mr. Highland, you're the applicant.
Yes, thank you. We listened to the review session. I think I can answer some of the questions preliminarily.
Excuse me, Mr. Highland, can you like move your monitor down a little bit or sit
Yeah,
up?
I'll stand up.
Oh, I don't know. You'll call
Is that
that,
okay?
Chair. I just couldn't see him.
Yeah, I know. We did submit the comments to the response to the DOT comments last Friday. So I think Ms. Pranga said that there was she had some problems with the transmission, but we did submit them. She has them. So we're waiting for the response.
Okay.
Oh, no. Hi, may I clarify?
Yeah, please.
No, they were sent. I was having technical difficulties during this review session, where I couldn't pull up the information quickly enough to tell the board that, we, did receive the applicant's response to DOT comments. And we sent, BSA sent this to DOT on May 19th. And actually, I did want to share that Commissioner Otley Brown's, one of her questions was in the DOT letter that they had issued. Thank you.
In the DOT comment letter.
Right.
Yeah.
About Adam Street, the pickup and drop off on Adam Street. There's a lengthy paragraph addressing that in our response.
Okay, thank you.
In regard to the DEP, the phase 2 testing is actually being conducted this week. It started yesterday, and we've been advised by ALC Environmental that we should have the results ready for submission on June 10th. And in regard to the question regarding the building department violations, there were 5 outstanding. 4 of them are regarding submitting energy efficiency reports, which seems to be a common violation that a lot of buildings get. And the 5th one was for doing work contrary to approved plans and to file the plans so that the building department records were up to date. So none of the violations actually concerned structural issues.
Okay. Thank you.
And in regard to your questions, Commissioner regarding the model of Vivi, they're here. They can address those questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, Board and Commissioner. Charles Pinello, co-founder and CEO, and Ben Newton, co-founder and COO. We're also both Vivi dads. My 3 children attend one of our programs, and Ben's son attends with them as well. So we are very much deeply involved as both customers and operators. Quickly on the model, Vivi's entire mission is to make exceptional childcare and early learning accessible and affordable to working families by partnering with employers to provide childcare as a benefit. Toward that end, we work with dozens of employers around the country, many of whom are in New York, to help subsidize childcare for their employees. Oftentimes, this is up to 50 or 75% of the monthly cost to them. Some of the companies that we work with include Etsy, who's in that building, New York Presbyterian Hospital. We serve thousands of their families across our campuses and on their campus where we operate summer camp, and companies like Goodwin Procter and even schools like Avenue the World School. We are always seeking for ways to make this more accessible. And by the way, when we work with, when we open up new schools, we also open up enrollment to the surrounding community. So right now our enrollments are usually like 70% community, 30% corporate, and that'll vastly depending on work patterns and when people come in. Toward that end, it really is meant to support the local community with a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday program that's aligned with working parents' evolving and frankly unpredictable needs across the board. We're always seeking for ways to make this even more accessible, and toward that end, we're exploring options to introduce UPK. There are a lot of, it's a complex process, and we want to make sure that we're offering the best program to families possible. And so again, it's something that we're pursuing in good faith, we're exploring, and we hope to be able to offer to the broader community.
Okay, so this is, so you at the moment don't employ the UPK program, but you're looking to try to see how that would mix with your employer-based program.
Correct. And just to be clear, even though some of our families are sponsored by their employers, about 70% of families just enroll directly because they live or work in the neighborhood, and they do so on their own.
Right, but then they have to pay on their own, not through the UPK system, right?
Correct.
It's interesting, very interesting, but you're now in discussions with UPK, right? Or the manner, however that works.
We've brought on an additional layer of leadership to help support our growth. Our general manager of the school program is a woman named Shana Hewitt, who has previously worked with a program called Sheltering Arms. We're exploring all the possibilities over here to make sure that we're providing the best program possible for working families and our communities.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
I can speak. There was a question about outdoor play. I can just speak to a
Yes,
quick
go ahead.
Within our floor plan, we do build adequate indoor recreation space called our wiggle rooms to make sure that regardless of the weather, there's adequate time for gross motor. In addition to that, on a daily basis, all of our classes go out for walks. We generally don't take children to the parks unless they're 2 years old and above, and we've identified 3 to 4 parks within a 5 to 10 minute walk. When we walk with children, especially because it's a high traffic area, and our other sites are located right at the base of the World Trade Center, right at the entrance of the Holland Tunnel. One is in Hudson Yards on 12th Avenue. We're used to high traffic areas. We actually take our children in large strollers, and our teachers walk with them to the parks before we get out. So we're able to move a little bit more quickly than usually the little feet permit. But we have a number of parks that we've identified in the area that we'll be happy to take advantage of when we open.
You said you have parks for this site within 4 to 5 blocks?
Correct. It's a requirement from the Department of Health when we get licensed by them for childcare that we have to have adequate outdoor space available for our children. And we passed that requirement through our initial application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we were also asking about, this is for the architect, for Ms. Gretter. I noticed that also on the drawings, you have 2 sets of drawings. One of them is sort of dealing with security issues and egress. and it doesn't include the stroller area that's hatched out as a general. Actually, interestingly, access to the building is kind of hatched out on most of the drawings. There was a point where I'm like, where's the sidewalk? And this is one of those confusing things that I've noticed on architectural drawings recently, where the first floor, even though that's where you get into the building, doesn't show how you get into the building. It's sort of existential. You're sort of already in the building. Can you please show us the access route on the first floor? Because your site plans are very tiny and just show little arrows, right?
Yes,
So-
we will absolutely take care of that, and we'll make sure to remove that hatch in those areas.
Okay, thanks. So, so part of it is also, maybe you could do a share screen with us.
Sure.
Or, how does the ADA accessibility work for this school?
It's always a little, yes. So this is the set of drawings, the latest set of drawings that you guys should have. And the first thing I want to note is on the lower left-hand corner of G100 and G101, we show the previous building, the building's application for exiting that's been previously approved. So we're just doing a fit out of a space that's in an existing building, obviously.
Right.
So that's the first bit. This is the cellar plan, and there is access to the elevators through a corridor to the building's elevators in the cellar.
Okay, so, so if we could just stay there with your sort of hatching code.
Yes.
By hatching this out, so, I mean, it's kind of aggressive hatching, right? It's just, don't notice anything except what's not hatched, right? If you could include fire egress and access to the elevators unhatched, we understand that maybe that's not part of the rental space, but nonetheless, it's required by ADA and fire department. So how do I get out and how do I get in?
Absolutely, we will absolutely do that.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Thanks for your comments. And then just go on to the next page. This is the ground floor, same comments. We'll remove the hatch from this egress stair and from this entrance exit stair. And then this is the main entrance to the building and the primary entrance to the Vivi space. There's a lift at both of the exterior exits. So that's that previous application number that's in the lower left-hand corner that we reviewed.
Can you zoom in on that?
Yeah, on the application number.
No, on the ramp and lift.
Yes.
Okay, I don't care about the application number.
Okay.
That's the buildings department. We're a different agency, right? So I'm arriving on a wheelchair. What do I do?
You would go to the lift that's got access right here. I guess you'd go, there's a ramp to the lift. You'd ride up on the lift and then you have access to our door and our entrance.
So you have to go up a ramp to get to the lift. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a very small ramp. It was just built, I think, to make up the difference in the sidewalk there.
Ah, okay.
So it's like less than 12 inches.
Okay.
Do you want that identified some way better?
Yeah.
Marcy?
Yeah, so it's really, well, for one, the hatch makes it really difficult to read. So yeah, indicate that that's an up ramp, right? Then that's a lift, the handicap. I mean, you can tell by the sort of general shape of it that it's a lift, but it's weird that it's a lift and a ramp. That's why we were confused. Okay, so yeah, if you could clarify that. And then if I'm in the space itself and I'm disabled and I need to take an elevator down to the cellar, how do I do it?
So you have a few options, but in all options, you have to go outside to either access the lobby of the building and their elevators, or actually that's the way to do it. I'm gonna just stick with that. You go outside into the lobby of the main elevator or main entrance and use their elevators and can go downstairs.
So this is a key card entrance. So it means that I don't know, actually, who uses that lower level? Is that only staff or that's also kids?
It is staff and children, but just older children.
Okay, so it means that they would need to be accompanied, have a key card to go through the building security and then enter in the elevator. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I think you also need to show ADA access to the cellar there.
Okay.
Okay. But it's such little kids. Normally I'm worried about these kind of things because we have older kids who go by themselves. And I don't like it when they're going by themselves among strangers, but here, because it's daycare, it's not an issue. Okay. I think that answers it. So, and then that hatched area that we talked about, and please put a sidewalk. Where am I egressing to?
Yeah. Yeah, so let me go back to, or actually I think it's on the zoning.
Yeah, this is the part where it's, the drawings say you can come in, but then you have to figure out where are those little arrows on the plans? Why not just put a sidewalk on the plan? Just say sidewalk.
Okay, we can do that. No problem. We can do that.
Something happened in architectural expression in the last 5 years that I don't understand, but it used to be that you couldn't draw a first floor without the street.
Totally understand. We'll take care of it.
All right, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
I don't think, does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, and just to clarify, the stroller is next to the
Yes,
main staircase.
So the stroller storage is the same problem that we had on the other drawings, that Chair Perlmutter has said. We need to remove the hatch. It is right there. Can you see that?
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Actually, I do have to say that when I saw that, I think that's a really good idea, because usually we have a problem with the strollers being inside the space and then clogging up sort of fire egress and all of that. And the idea that you're taking care of the strollers, are you taking care of it from the sidewalk or once you're on the platform?
Yeah, it's from the sidewalk. This is a unique condition. This building has a covered area that's going to be nice, and it'll protect the strollers. But it's right from the sidewalk, so that's also nice.
Yeah, so that's really great, because we've also seen sort of crazy sites where there's 100 strollers on the sidewalk, all like piled up.
And Chair Perlmutter, it's stroller parking and toilets, for that matter, are things that we think about all the time in our line of business. On the stroller parking, just so you know, we have about 30% of our parents we allow a capacity of 30% of our families in the design of the space to bring strollers, and we limit the types. So none of the big Cadillac strollers that you see on the sidewalks, for families, we limit them to umbrella strollers only, that they can park and leave at the facility.
That's great. And then you were just touching on toilet rooms. I'm interested in that subject because it's like a theme.
So on the toilet front, you are absolutely right. That is ideal for classrooms, really for ages 3 and above, when children are full on potty trained, to have toilets within the classrooms. We couldn't make it work within this floor plan, but we have experience running centers with toilets not in classrooms. It really, how we make it work on a regular basis is just with staffing procedures and how we run it. Again, it's not ideal, but we're happy dealing with it, and it's not, for us, it's not abnormal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And then my last question was about, you said it's within whatever it was, a mile of its location. What's its location? In the statement of facts, which you probably didn't write, they left out what the location is that you want to be within a mile of.
John or Carol, do you have that information?
I was going to ask John. John, do you know what sentence that was about?
So it just, let me see if I can. So you don't need to look it up in the statement of facts, but so here we are, you have a catchment area. What's your catchment area? How did you decide where it is? And because one of the findings is we looked for locations and we couldn't find anything that's not in a district that doesn't permit this as of right. So that's trying to understand that, like, why did you select this radius? Why not a different radius that has more, say, commercial districts or R districts as opposed to M districts?
Understood. So from a business perspective, what we really look at is demographic layers of a couple of things. It's the percentage of children under 5 years old in the area, and then supply demand imbalance. This really came up as a pretty big childcare desert, especially relative to a lot of the new developments that have come up both on the residential front and then on the commercial front in terms of employers that employ many women disproportionately to men. And so working moms, childcare is a crisis for parents irrespective of role and gender, et cetera, but especially for working mothers, they've been hit harder. And so we wanted to make sure that we were supporting both the families and the employers that were nearby. And so when we layered those issues on top of each other, it was almost like a bullseye right over here. And so we did look, and there really weren't any other feasible sites that didn't fit within the, that would have been able to do so of right. Carol or John, did I mischaracterize anything in the way that?
No, I don't think you did. No, I think that clarifies it.
So when you did that, you did some kind of demographic study and you found here we are in the center of Dumbo where there's all of these workers, lots of residents, no place to bring their children. And you kind of drew this 1 mile radius circle. Is that like you targeted Dumbo, like literally between the bridges? I mean, at the crux of the bridges, right? Is that where the circle goes around the red dot, or does is the circle somewhere else and the red dot's sort of on the edge of it? That's kind of what I'm.
Oh, sorry. It really isn't that precise because we're dealing with congressional districts as the underlying data around here. So it's kind of more of a heat map. We did look all around, like within a mile of this radius or a mile radius of this site. And again, there were a couple of things that came to it. Number one, there weren't suitable spaces for the type of program that we need to run. Number two, the commercial viability of those spaces or any spaces that we came across weren't there. Number three, this is a uniquely committed landlord who is actually facilitating the development of this site with financial support in a pretty significant way that really helps lean into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Super interesting. Thank you. Right. Any other comments, questions from commissioners? You can take off the shared screen now. Thank you.
I was just going to also mention, I do believe there was a demographic, some diagrams included with the submission, if you're curious about it more.
Okay, I probably looked at them, but maybe I didn't make the connection about what that meant about its location.
Yeah.
Mr. Highland,
Yes.
did you submit them? You submitted the statement of facts, is that
Yes.
correct? Can you clarify that one little sentence? That
Well,
talks
I
about
think
location?
I wrote it with my partner. So, but what it was supposed to say was a 1 mile radius within the demographic and geographic area where, as Charles just explained, that they saw a need for a facility of this type. That's what.
Okay, so maybe you could tie that into the demographic analysis that Ms. Greta just referred to. So it's not just this kind of floating statement, okay?
I can revise that.
Okay, thank you. All right then, let's go to the public.
So the case we are currently discussing is 2022-10BZ, 55 Prospect Street, Brooklyn. This is for an operation of a daycare center. Should you wish to discuss, please dial 646-558-8656. You may enter the webinar ID number as 938-3465-5364 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign. Once you're in the Zoom room, press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute to speak. If you are in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand. And we are only discussing 2022-10BZ 55 Prospect Street, Brooklyn, the VV Daycare Center.
Right. And there may be 2 people in the Zoom room right now who are not members of the team. So if you're interested in speaking on this, please raise your Zoom hand. So to pick up the question that was posed, actually, I believe by Commissioner Otley Brown about the drop off. Can you just discuss that a little bit? I know you responded to BEP's comments. Can you discuss that yourselves? And we might need to share screen again to just show us what your plan is.
And John and Carol, while you're pulling that up, would it be helpful for us just to talk programmatically about how it typically works at a Vivi program?
Of course.
I think it would.
So our 3 existing schools, one is at 75 Barrack Street, which is at the entrance of the Holland Tunnel. One is in Hudson Yards on 34th and 12th, which is right by the Javits Center. And the third is at 50 Park Place, right at the base of the World Trade. Is it 50 Park Place or 50 Church? It has 2 addresses at the base of the World Trade Center. So we are used to dealing with high traffic areas. To my knowledge, I'm the only person who actually drives in and drops off their child over there. Every other family either walks or takes public transportation to do so. And so while John and Carol will address this from their side, just historically when we've worked with families, it hasn't been an issue from a traffic, from an access, or from any other perspective. And given the robust public transportation nearby, it was also one of the factors that led us to deciding that this was a great location for us to actually locate the site. Ben, do you have anything that you'd add to that?
No, that's it.
So excuse me, could I just ask, so when you do, since you do drive there, when you do pull up to your site, what happens? Do you park and get out and then come back? Or does a faculty member, or staff member meet you at the car, take your child? And
I personally park about 3 blocks away in a regular parking spot, and I put my children to. I have 3 of them. I have I have 9-month-old twins and a 3-year-old. So we just take a nice little walk over together.
We do not permit our staff to valet and support with cars. Families are as of now, because of our COVID policies, families must bring children in for a health check in our lobbies, and then they're taken to classrooms by their teachers. But in normal times, which we're hopefully coming to, families are expected to drop off and pick up in classrooms, and we make clear to them that staff are not available to assist with any type of basically a vehicular drop off or pickup. So we require them to follow all transportation rules.
So I have a question about this, because this is obviously a different community where there may be more people driving. Have you done, as part of your analysis, kind of the reverse journey to work analysis on this? How many people actually drive in this area? Obviously in Manhattan, you're not going to see as many who drive their kids to daycare, but in Brooklyn, it's probably more prevalent.
Many of our families actually come from Brooklyn already, to tell you the truth. So I think, and prior to COVID, our average commute time in and out was about 45 minutes each way. Again, with most of these folks taking public transportation. So in our analysis of this, again, for families that we're typically targeting with 1 or 2 kids that are of this age, they're generally not driving to work. They're either working locally, which is the biggest thing. So they're walking, and that's why they live there. Or they're taking public transportation. We really haven't seen anything material on that front. And it's also anecdotal, right? Anecdotal is less fun in context of these discussions, because we'd all say, I know this person that does this or this person who does that. But it's just a matter of again, our experience in working with these families and what we've seen from our end in terms of actually observing the area.
Because it seems to me, and I see the vice chair's hand up, but give me a second. It seems to me that your model is actually such a different model than a lot of the ones that we see, because you're tapping both from the immediate neighborhood, so people who are, say, dropping off before they go to work, and then other people who may even take their kids with them so that they can pick them up from work more easily. So do you have that, for instance, in your Manhattan locations? Do you have people who, as you say, they live in Brooklyn, they maybe bring their kids with them and drop the kid off at the local daycare, so it's easier for them to pick up and then do some after school activity or whatever?
We do. And look, part of the reason that the families are so excited about this is that we're open until 7 p.m. So if a mom is working, let's say she's a salesperson, in a typical situation, if she has to leave at 4, she's not able to take West Coast clients, right? She's not able to stay for the dinner or for the cocktail hour or for the networking event. Part of what we're really excited about is that we're able to facilitate that through our model just as a function of the hours. And so again, in our analysis, looking at our families that are coming from corporate partners, on average, they're traveling 45 minutes or more each way. It's something like 65 or 70% of them are so doing already, whether that's from Staten Island or Brooklyn or Queens or wherever. I don't know that it makes much of a difference, but they're bringing their children with them. I happen to come in from Westchester, which is why I drive in, and because I have so many kids, but for the most part, they're.
But you're not bringing them to a Westchester daycare. You're bringing them to a New York City daycare. I think that's important. One of the reasons that I'm saying this is because DOT is used to reviewing these cases for like a standard daycare model, right? And that's why I was talking about this at the beginning. I don't see yours as a standard model. So I want to make sure that when you respond to DOT's comments, you're really clear about your model. DOT may, on the other hand, say, you know what, it's the same model, right, effectively. But I don't know that. I think it should underscore that this is your structure because it's employer-based. That has a big impact on how people might, let's say, decide that maybe they really should bring the kids with them to work because the office is paying for the nearby location, right? Nearby the work.
Well, the view for us, the model, we have a number of services that we provide, including in-home services and care cash. As we build more schools, our vision is that the families can choose the Vivi that is right for them as their employer signs up. So we expect an Etsy parent that lives at Hudson Yards, if that's the right campus for them, we would hope that they choose to enroll there. It's up to every family. The big thing that we see from families who bring their children in, especially if they work long hours, is that they can be present in their child's education in a way they couldn't be normally, but it hasn't impacted, aside from Charlie and his clown car, it hasn't impacted parking, because we make very clear that our staff is not available to assist with drop-off pickup, nor do we facilitate parking options for our families.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Shanta, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I was looking through the site study demographics data that was provided, and I actually found the information provided quite helpful. However, you may want to use this data and in your narrative to address a lot of the questions that are being asked, and also to respond to potential DOT questions. Because what I found interesting is that this is an area where, as you have indicated, as you have stated, over nearly 60% of people are taking the subway, and followed by walking. That's the next highest. So there is very few who are coming via cars. And then you also have household auto ownership. And the auto ownership percentage wise, it's not very high. It's actually pretty interestingly low. I was surprised.
Vice Chair, I totally agree. It's one of the, I wish I had cited that as well when I was discussing it. It looks on paper very similar to downtown Manhattan.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think this data, I found it fascinating, but I was looking for how this connected to the narrative. So if you could blend it into the narrative with where specifically these questions are being asked, I think that would go a long way, at least definitely for me.
I would like to point out that DOT did have specific questions, which is what we responded to last week. And some of those issues are, of what you've been talking about now.
Right. So so you're saying that not a lot of people are driving, but nonetheless, your EAS concludes there are 6 vehicle trips. So it means that, let's say, from a statistical point of view, you have 6 people who drive every day and drop their kids off by car, right? So that's kind of like, what are you going to tell the parents they have to do with respect to this site?
Sorry, could you repeat that question one more time?
Yeah, so your EAS does a traffic trip analysis concludes that there will be 6 trips daily for pickup. I think that means 6 parents dropping off or guardians dropping off by car. And it's not by taxi, so specifically by car. So you need to set up a protocol for what it is that people do when they are actually driving to drop off. So Mr. Bonello has his own protocol, but he owns the joint, you know? What do the other people have to do? What is the instruction that you give to a parent who plans on actually driving to work? Let's just say they work in Westchester and they live in Dumbo. So they're going to drop the kid off on the way. What are they supposed to do, right? What can you tell them to do?
Sure. So, similar to what Charlie does now, too bad he doesn't own the parking lot, because what he pays in monthly fees. What we'll instruct our families to do, for the rare families that do drive or drop off, we're very clear to instruct them when and where if they ask us the question, because oftentimes we don't know. And if they do drive, I would say most families really do it in the instance where it's necessary, except for the case of Charlie. We will do a quick survey of the neighborhood and look at available short-term parking options that are available, including parking garages that may offer 30-minute rates. But we generally we stay out of the conversation following the guidance from the Department of Transportation as well as our landlord. Carol, John, maybe you want to speak to the analysis done.
Yeah, I was just going to say, John, I think that that was one of the questions the DOT asked, and we probably have a prepared statement, and I'm not sure where it's at. The basic idea, and you guys discussed this during the review period earlier today, is there are a couple, I think 3 parking spaces that are on Adams Street. And so in the DOT study that was provided, I think they identified those 3 spots as potential places for somebody to park immediate to the building, then be able to walk to the entrance right around the corner.
But unless they're dedicated, unless you're restricting them to school time, they're not yours.
Yeah, John, we have a.
Oh, in the analysis in paragraph 4 of the response that goes into the specifics about the pickup and drop off and the auto trips for Adams Street.
And give us a hint.
Yeah, it's quite long. I can read it.
No, don't read it. Tell us what it says.
Basically, they're saying that the location would not block any moving traffic lanes, and it would involve changing the existing on-street parking regulations along this frontage, which includes 2 parking spaces in between a fire hydrant and the building's loading area. It should be restricted with a no parking on Monday through Friday between the 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. Times to allow drop-offs and pickups for the child care center.
So you are proposing to restrict those 2 sites for your parking spaces?
Yes.
Okay, so DOT obviously has to weigh in on that. Okay.
Right, and so that was basically proposed to them in the response, our response, to see what they how they rule on that.
Okay. I'm looking at, so some of this is coordination on the drawings. There's so many different drawings, so it makes it a little hard for us to follow. So I'm looking at a drawing, what is this? This is the builder's pavement plan 302, right? And it's part of the proposed plan set where it has, it zeroes in on the intersection of Adams and Prospect, but I don't see any indication of a dedicated parking area there. It really is just a BPP. So maybe this is an old drawing, I'm not sure. So when you have these sets and then it's not all coordinated so we can follow it along, it makes it difficult for us to see the story, right? So please clarify, like, where's the drawing that shows that that's where the two spaces are proposed?
It's part of the DOT packet.
Okay, so
there's a DOT can you see that DOT TRSPNS 55 Prospect? And then they used our drawing and marked up where those two parking spots are, but we're happy to do whatever you need us to.
So we only are going to be using the set that's basically the BSA set, right?
Okay.
All of the information has to be in that set. You can add drawings to it, but it needs to be coordinated. It can't be that it's a little bit over here and not over there, because then we don't know what's really going on. So this ZOO that you're talking about, that's in this DOT trans set. So you need to
yeah, I think the number is 2022.05.19 DOT transportation. I think this was a letter that was sent from Philip Habib in response to DOT's comments. I agree with Madam Chair. I think this particular drawing, the plot plan, which shows the area, once DOT approves it, this needs to be incorporated. I mean, it needs to be part of the actual BSA folder, BSA drawing set. Because that is one of the things that we are approving. So please, those need to be consolidated. Same thing with the sound attenuation, that needs to be part of the drawings so that we know where the window walls, sound attenuations are going to be considered. Though everything that has to be all in one set of drawings.
Totally. We'll update the parking plan. I do want to point out that the attenuation is shown in the drawings. It's on A101 and the legend is up in the right-hand corner, and then it's on the plan.
Okay, so then that's fine. So it's really just this kind of site plan and the crossing plan, whatever it is that DOT used to in terms of crossings. Again, I don't know whether they have any kind of crossing recommendations here, because all the strollers are accompanied by parents, or guardians. So it's a kind of a different review criteria than we see for schools, which is one reason why school safety doesn't weigh in on these cases.
Right. In their memo, the DOT had mentioned that it says, please note DOT school safety does not review daycare. Therefore, any reference to school safety should be removed.
Right. So it's two different departments sort of at DOT. One is worried about children going to school on their own. And then the other is worried about impacts on traffic, mostly about drop-offs. And if there were buses, then that's really a big issue for them, right? So that's why we need to see everything coordinated onto one, but while you're only seeing one of the DOT divisions reviewing it instead of those two. Yeah, Vice Chair, other comments?
Yeah, I just needed a clarification. It's regarding that internal staircase.
Yes.
I think the down arrow and the up arrow, if you look at the down arrow on the cellar and the location of the up arrow on the first floor, it's on the same location, which I think is yeah,
you mentioned this in the review. I didn't understand the question. So this is the ground floor and the stair goes down.
Right. So if you go to the cellar,
and then this is the cellar and the stair goes up. So it goes up. It's quite a big stair. It goes up and turns and then delivers. It's basically a U-shaped stair.
So you're just not seeing the U on the second floor.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thanks for pointing it out.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Did we already go to the public? I forget. Yes, we did. Okay. So then how much time do we need to respond with DOT and see if there's any other things? Yeah, and to make those corrections to the statement of facts. Yeah, Commissioner Sheta.
Regarding the violations, I didn't hear an answer to the like the violations, whether any of them are, is of structural nature? Just
No,
need a
actually,
confirmation.
he went through
did.
them.
He did.
He said the DOB violations are energy efficiency reports, work contrary to the approved plans, file updated plans, nothing structural.
My bad, thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, so let's say again, how much time do you need correcting the statement of facts, fixing the drawings so they don't have hatches and we can't read them, clarifying some of those issues, and the DOT turnaround?
Well, I think well, we're waiting for the DOT. You know, we submitted our response to their comments on the 19th last week. So we're waiting for their response to that. And then, as I said, the DEP, the phase 2, should be ready on our end for submission on June 10th. Or
right.
Approximately June 10th. So then they'll have to review that. So right. I was thinking maybe at the end of June.
Okay, so turn around by the end of June. And Jella, did you want to add something?
Well, we also have air quality and noise. We haven't received the comments from DEP. You know, they are backed up on air quality and noise, but they have been helping us recently. So maybe we can, you know, try to get that.
Okay, so now this is a question again for the owners. Here we are in May. Is your target, and I don't know, is this built out already? Is this is new construction? You're doing a sort of a gut reno of this office area, right? So what are you looking at your target for opening?
We'd be looking to open in the fall if possible, right? In order to support as many families as possible. Our build out typically takes 90 days, 99 days, Carol, you can comment more to that. So again, we know that there are many families in the area who are in desperate need of childcare. We're eager to start marketing to them. We can't really do that until we know.
So here's my question. So in terms of the building permit, are your drawings already at the finalized state to apply to go to buildings?
Yeah.
Yes,
well, what we ended up doing was filing there was some demo and salvage work that needed to be done. So we filed a separate application and that was approved and that work has started. And we're ready to go with the construction as soon as we get BSA approval.
Okay, so here's my question, because we can't approve these until we have seeker sign off, right? That's the way it works. We can't even close till we have seeker sign off. My question is, the layout is essentially an office space. Can you just file as use group 6 and, you know, do the beginning of your construction and then you file a post-approval amendment to convert it to daycare? Because we would need that if you can do this.
Yes. And we've already started talking about it. Also, we have the permits for the mechanical and the plumbing and the sprinklers already. So there's already there's already permits for some of the work that can be started. But yes, we started talking about filing it as a use group 6 and then doing a PAA. We've got to make some changes to the drawings, but yes.
Okay. So I'd recommend that you do that because we can't predict how long it's going to take with the other agencies. And I appreciate you really need to get started like June in order to be ready for a September opening, right? So, and that's probably not realistic given that June's next week. Right?
Thank you for being so thoughtful about our needs. So just to hear it correctly, because I want to make sure we're being respectful of also the process. Is it okay, understanding that there still is a process to complete for us to begin? We've held off on marketing and enrolling to families. Would that be considered offensive for us to begin doing that in light of the work that still needs to be done?
So you wouldn't be able to at DOB indicate daycare on your drawings unless the daycare is considered a use group 6 use, which I don't know if it is, right? So I've had confusing responses from DOB in the past about what a daycare center is. So at a school versus a commercial activity, right? But you can certainly file use group 6 as an office to do your partition layouts and so on. And then assuming DOB is okay with that, then you could start to proceed, right? Because I'm assuming a month minimum to turn around all the seeker stuff, right? So, yeah, and in terms of marketing, I don't know that there's this is something that I'm a little nervous about marketing it without an approval. Obviously, you don't hear objections from the commissioners. Really, we're at a seeker. We're just not permitted to vote until, or even close until the seeker has been reviewed.
Totally. I think from our perspective, and just to even ask more specifically, we didn't want to put up construction signage, have one of you see it as you were walking by, be like, oh, you think a daycare's coming in over here? Let's think again, right? So just want to make sure that we're aligned.
Yes. So to be honest, there are certainly cases where we've seen that, and then we've been furious because it wasn't a foregone conclusion that the 7-story building was going to be permitted. And in fact, maybe it never was, or it was 4 stories that was permitted, but that's not the same situation here where it's really just a build out of an existing building, right? Of the interior existing building. Okay. I mean, we can talk about more, you can talk about this more with our counsel and executive director about exactly how to proceed. But I was just trying to understand your timeline and alternate approaches to proceeding. Okay. All right then. So I'm going to, so we're going to check with the agencies to see how long the turnaround time is. Okay. And we'll get back to you about when we can put this on for continuation. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you everyone for your.
Did you have a question, Mr. Highland?
No, I'm
okay.
going to bring up about the adjourned date, but Madam Chair addressed that.
Okay.
Yeah, so the way that it works is we check with the agencies, they tell us how much time, then we suggest a date for you, and then your project manager, so Jella, will get back to you and say, we set this on for continued hearing on such and such a date, okay?
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
anything
all.
else?
All right.
Thank you. So this then concludes the public hearing for May 24th, 2022.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.